Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Max, Chief Evangelist over here at Happily, and I'm going to show you the Quote Happily feature called Rules Engine. All right. So the Rules Engine is really core to everything that Quote Happily does. It's what lets us automate different sets of guidance, guardrails, and governance around everything you're allowed to do and not allowed to do when it comes to building quotes. It also helps you automate a bunch of things during the quote building process. I'm going to show you a very basic example of how it actually works in terms of helping us make sure that, for example, we are not letting reps quote over a certain amount when they're building a quote in terms of what sort of discount they're actually applying. And I'm going to show you how rules work fundamentally. So I'm in Quote Happily here, and I'm in my quote rules section here. And you can see we've got a whole bunch of different types of rules that we can build. I'm going to show you some examples of ones that I've already set up. So here I have this example of a notification rule, or a rule that gives a notification as an outcome. Okay. And basically what I'm doing here is I am just warning the reps, or basically notifying them, that they are free to discount up to 5% as much as they want. So it starts just by giving the rule a name, giving it a description, and then down here, when you're building a rule, what you do is you set conditions. Conditions are basically the criteria that the quote or any associated objects to the quote or the deal need to hit in order for this rule to come into play. So once you set your conditions, you can then choose an outcome. In my case, my conditions are if there are any line items on the quote where the discount percentage is less than 5, I'm giving them a gentle notification, letting them know that they're allowed to do that. And so what I'm doing here is I'm setting a notify outcome, which is not going to stop them from doing anything. It's not going to send them into approval. It's just going to flash a little message up on the screen as they're building the quote. And these different rules will change and go away and show up depending on what the user does or the sales rep does when they're actually building the quote. And so here I can choose what my message is. Depending on the outcome that you choose, there's a whole bunch of different ones here. You can choose a different notification message or choose a different action that happens depending on that outcome. In my case, if there's any line items that are less than 5% with the discount percentage, it's going to say, hey, you're authorized to give up to a 5% discount for this customer on any line item. So the way this actually works is if I'm the rep building the quote inside of HubSpot, what I actually see when I have a line item on a quote is I get this little notice here. And that's because it meets the rule that I've built. Now, I have a couple of other rules that will actually trip when I do certain things. So for example, I have another rule that's going to dictate how much I'm allowed to discount before it gets sent to an approval. So if I say discount 6%, what you will notice is that I can no longer publish the quote. It's actually going to force me to submit it for approval. But maybe I don't even want to send quotes to approval where they discount over 10%. Well, I have another rule set over here where if I switch it to like an 11% discount, it's not even going to let me send it to approval. It's going to give me this big error message right here, and the publish quote button and the submit to approval button is actually going to go away. That's just one example of tons and tons of different things that you can do with rules in Quote Happily.